3.
6.
You can't do 6. I have 6.
Fine. 4.
You can't do that either.
Why not?
Because Dad has a 4.
Why is mine leaning?
Hey there folks, Jeff here, your tabletop technician on the Dice Tower. Today I've got a short and sweet review for you about a fairly short and fairly sweet card game called Sky Towers. This is designed by Charles Ward and produced under his indie studio, EX First Games. Sky Towers began life as a print and play available on Board Game Geek. However, it is now available for purchase on the EX First Games website, spelled like this. But how about first, I show you how to play. Sky Towers is a card game where players will construct towers out of cards numbered 1 through 10. Players will be attempting to build towers with cards that total in value to exactly 21 points. They'll do this by taking 2 actions on their turn from the available list of actions shown on this action card. They can build a card, draw a card, or they can demolish an existing unfinished tower. When a player places a card on a tower that brings the sum of the cards on that tower to 21, the tower immediately scores by piling the cards face down under their action card in front of them. At the end of the game, the player with the most yellow kites on all of their cards wins the game. Is that it? Could that really be it? No. First, players must be cognizant of the top card showing on the 2 towers closest to them belonging to their neighbors. They can't play either of those cards onto any of their own towers. Second, each of the 10 cards has an effect that must be satisfied or resolved when the card is played. Some are requirements to playing the card. For example, the only card you can play on top of a 1 is another 1. 10s, meanwhile, can only be played as the starting foundation card of a tower. Multiple 4s can be played at once to a single tower, while 8s and 9s can be played in front of any player, a useful way of stopping a player from blocking a card you desperately need to play. The other cards trigger events that must be resolved when they're played. Playing a 2 lets you swap 2 cards with any opponent, who must first give you 2 cards, and then you give any 2 cards back to them. 3s let you look at the top card of the deck and either leave it there or put it on the bottom of the deck. 5s, when played, require each player holding more than 5 cards to discard down to 5, putting their cards back on top of the draw deck. A 6 lets you simply draw the top card from the deck, or you can trigger a Go Fish mechanism where you can ask a player for a card of a specific number, but if they don't have it, you get nothing. And lastly, playing a 7 lets you reveal the top card from the draw deck, and from that point on, any player can use that card for a build action, placing it directly onto a tower. So with each card you play, you're possibly triggering other effects that might interact with other players, but that still isn't all there is to Sky Towers. Players are also competing for these 9 bonus cards, each of which provide additional scoring yellow kites. These establish a goal and are awarded to a player when they are accomplished, such as building a tower out of only 1s, 2s, or 3s, or completing 2 towers on a single turn. Now, these are a familiar concept, but unlike most other board games out there, these bonuses can be stolen from whomever holds them when a new player accomplishes the same goal. The game end is triggered when the last card is removed from the draw deck, and as long as no cards have been returned to the deck after every player has had one more turn, the game ends. I will definitely say that Sky Towers is a pretty unique formula. What could have easily been a simple card game to build towers that sum up to 21 is bolstered with the requirements/actions of each card, which not only adds a puzzle element to the game, but also creates immediate player interaction. On top of that, this twist of being able to lose a bonus card to another player is so simple, but it really changes the way you think about working towards these goals. You really want to time it so you can can pop off an achievement, maybe even two, just before the deck runs out, so of course no one can take them from you. But that is not very easy to pull off. Now, the one element of the game that hasn't worked for me quite so much is the blocking rule, where you can't play a card if it's the top card on either of your neighbor's towers closest to you. I've played this a few times already, and several times in each play, someone suddenly realizes that they weren't able to play a card that they played, often while it's already another player's turn, and suddenly everything grinds to a halt as that player tries to hot tub time machine the game to a state that should have played out instead. I actually asked Charles about the history of this rule and learned that it was actually a foundational concept to this entire game, and honestly, I get it. I have certainly known groups of people, often folks who've known each other for many years, maybe attending school together or whatever, who will seek out time to spend together, often on a weekly basis. And a game like this becomes an excellent vessel for interaction. Me, I've never really been in one of those groups, and so for myself and the folks that I tend to play games with, even my own family, we do tend to focus a bit more on the game. We're certainly glad to be spending time together, but our focus is often a bit more right in front of us, on our own path to victory, and we can tend to put blinders on and kind of ignore what our neighbors are doing. In fact, in every instance where I or another player have vented frustration about being blocked by a card in this game, the blocking player has always confessed that they had no idea they were blocking that player in the first place, and it was never intentional or targeted. It's always been a coincidence. And that perhaps is the aspect of this game that will make it right or wrong for you. Personally, I can kind of live without this rule, and you could easily leave it out of the game. You could also be sitting there right now thinking, this game is absolutely what my friends and I need, and that of course is fantastic. Now, the only other thing I want to mention is that the game can feel a smidge on the long side, and I'm sure that interactivity adds to it. I don't always have an hour or so to put into a fairly light card game like this, but again, your mileage may vary. Oh, and the cards here are pretty nice. Everything has a linen finish, even the rulebook, and there are some extra cards in the box to help you with math, provide a distribution of the cards in the deck, and even some blanks to let you customize your experience. So with that being said, I'll take a chance here and elevate this game to a 7. It's certainly not for everyone, and it can be a little random, but Sky Towers is also a little puzzly, a little take that, a little thinky, and a little surprising, and that is a towering achievement on its own. Cheers. Uh-oh.